Hi, good morning, and welcome to episode 32 of the Whips and Whimsy podcast. My name is Zenith. My pronouns are they, them. I am so happy you are joining me today, especially if you are new. This week has been wild because this channel has been kind of plateaued at the same subscriber count for the last couple of months. And over the last couple days, thanks to a shout out from Yarn and Yarns, I have gained about 20 new subscribers, which is crazy. So if you are new, welcome. I'm so happy that you are here. This is my YouTube channel where we talk about all the things I've been knitting lately and life and stuff. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, buckle up, grab a drink so we can stay hydrated together, grab a craft to work on while we go through everything. And yeah, let's have a good time. This is going to be a long episode. So I'm sure you can already see that by the timestamp under this video, but just in case, this is going to be a doozy. I wrote out in my notes what we have going on today. So I'm going to read it off because I don't remember what I wrote down. But we have 1 finished object, 2 works in progress. We have the final batch of our 12 days of Cast Ons, which is a knit along with Yarn and Yarns, which has been an absolute delight to work with. I have refreshed my sock yarn bucket for the month of January. I'm also going to go over upcoming plans for knitting in terms of like how I'm going to prioritize the projects that I have on the needles. I have a book haul with the last box of books I got when I was on vacation in Florida last week. I have my bingo card that I make. This is the 3rd year in a row I've made a bingo card instead of just like New Year's resolutions. And so I'm going to go over that a little bit for anyone who's interested. And I also have decided I want to get back into spinning this year. So I have some spinning shenanigans to talk about at the very end of the episode. So if all of that sounds good and lovely, let's settle on in. Today, I am using this wonderful cup that I thrifted like 3 months after I moved to Massachusetts. It's one of my favorite mugs, and in this mug, I brewed myself a cup of coffee using one of my roommate's really nice blends. One of the tasting notes is pastry puff, or like puff pastry? No, pastry crust. What am I talking about? And I'm really enjoying this. So in the last week, I've decided that homebrewed coffee compared to like getting coffee in a store is the way to go. It just feels really luxurious to take the time at home to just do something compared to just being like, I'm on the go. I'm going to go get this from somewhere else and someone else is going to make it for me. Like, no. So I'm embracing that kind of slowness, that kind of chillness. Speaking of all things chill, I am wearing some knitting today. I have this hat. This is my Darth Vader hat. This colorway is Darth Vader from Bumblebee Acres. It was a gift from a friend. This main color is Hawthorn from Knit Picks. I don't remember what color. I think Poseidon, but I'm not sure. I have matching socks, but they are dirty, so I'm not wearing matching socks. Instead, I am wearing these babies. This is the Chemnitz Halloween 2024 yarn. It was a mystery yarn that I ordered, and I'm specifically wearing these because you're going to see that yarn again later in the episode. So, that said, let's get into it. As I said, I have 1 finished object. And it is, unsurprisingly, a pair of socks. I finished them. It took so much work. Which is to say, it took the same amount of work that every other pair of socks that I make does. But I had so many other fun things I wanted to work on, and I did not want to work on socks. So I put it off until New Year's Eve. And then I thought about it, and I was like, I really don't want to bring this project into the new year. It needs to get done today. So I spent like 6 hours on New Year's Eve day just marathoning these. These are knit on kind of my standard vanilla recipe, which is to cast on 56 stitches on size 1.5 flexi flips to work 10 rows of 2x2 ribbing 30 rows for the leg, a slip stitch heel, however many rows I need for the foot, and then a square toe. Lately, I've been enjoying not doing a contrast toe. I always want to call them the heel, but I've been enjoying not doing a contrast toe because I think it looks better on the foot. I found that in a lot of the socks that I made in 2025 that I wasn't wearing until it got cold, I made the toe too short, and it makes my entire foot look like it's on a curve. And it's just because of the where the contrast hits, it hits above my pinky toe. So I'm trying to figure that out, but in the meantime, I'm just one color all the way down, and then my socks don't look crazy when I wear them. So there's a little tip for you. Oh, we're still talking about these. I'm putting them aside, don't mind me. The main color for this was from Craftily Dyed Yarns in the color Flamingo Lingo. The contrast color is from Knit Picks. It is Stroll in the color Everglade, which I am a little bit obsessed with. So that's my finished objects. I have 2 works in progress. One of them is in this bag my friend Kaylee made for me. And it is a sock. Spoiler. This is following the same exact pattern as before. I don't have a progress keeper on here, so I'm not sure where I was last time. I think I was in the gusset. I think I was here. So I've knit an inch on it because I've been doing a ton of other knitting. But this is a work in progress. This is the same pattern, so 10 rounds 2x2 ribbing, the whole thing. But the main color is from Felici. It is color Sebastian, and the purple is Knit Picks Stroll in the color Deep Purple, which is also one of my favorite contrast colors lately. And these are Little Mermaid themed socks because I have an upcoming trip to Disney. So I was like, I'm gonna knit that yarn up. I know that that's Little Mermaid, so I'm pretty excited about that one. We will see when it actually gets finished because I have so many other things on the needles and other things I'm prioritizing, but my plan is to have that done pretty soon. I have plans to continue knitting more socks in January, which we will get into. Anywho, those are my... Wait, no, I have another one. The other project I have continued is in this Star Wars bag, which means it must be my Star Wars Advent that I just got last Christmas, that I bought myself from Brazos Dye Works. And this is... Grogu is where I left it, and this is where we are now. So we are about maybe a third into the third color. This is Padme Amidala. This one, you're gonna get sick of this with me. That's the plan. If you continue watching this channel, we're gonna speed run this shawl. I have 24 colors to add. I'm on color number 3. I have done the math between now and my trip, and as long as I knit 10 grams on it a day minimum, I can have it done to be able to wear in the parks. And I've said in previous episodes, I don't think that these colors are going to scream Star Wars. I don't think people are going to look at me in Hollywood studios and be like, you made yourself a Star Wars wrap. But I do think it's going to be based on the weather in Florida, which is where I'm originally from. Having a little just super light gauge, I'm trying to show how light the gauge is. There you go. A super light gauge fingering weight shawl to wear just around your shoulders is going to be the perfect thing to wear in the parks in February. So I'm really excited for this. I'm going to try to get it done. So it'll be a new color every 2 days is I think where I need to go to keep pace to have it done. So this is going to get a lot of work. In fact, my plans, my wild and crazy Saturday plans today are I'm going to get groceries and then I'm going to watch a bunch of Disney movies I've never seen before so that I can understand the Easter eggs in the parks and just work on this the whole time. So hi, hello, Editing Zenith here. Just because I just realized I didn't tell you anything about that actual pattern. So that is a self-drafted pattern that is kind of loosely based on the Northeasterly blanket strips and also the wrap down pattern that you can find on Ravelry. So what I've done instead is I have casted on, I believe it's 125 stitches. I'm doing a slip stitch side on either side. And then I'm doing the texture pattern is to knit 1 row and then purl 3 rows. And when I start the right side, I just do purl 2 together until I get to the center stitch, and then I do a yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, get to the end, slip, slip, purl, and then I slip the last stitch and then knit it on the next row. So that is all the pattern is. And then I just change the yarn as the yarn changes itself. I'm wrapping up 5 mini skeins at a time into a magic knot ball kind of style, and they're already in order. I'm knitting them in the order that the advent came in. So yeah, that is the whole pattern. I think I'm using size 5 needles. They might be size 6. It's over there and I'm not going to go check. So anyway, yeah, that's what that pattern is. That's what we're making. I am lovingly referring to this as the North Down. Yeah. Okay. So that brings us into our next section, which is finishing up the 12 days of cast ons with Ange from Yarn and Yarns, which I have been having so much fun with this. If you've been following me for a while, I've been knitting socks and socks and socks all of last year and doing like nothing else. So this has challenged me to cast things on that aren't socks. I only have 3 sets of sock needles, so like I cannot have more than 3 sock whips at a time, basically. Like at least on my usual size, on my 1.5s. So I've been having a great time casting on shawls and cardigans and sweaters and things. And so I have like a whole mishmash pile over here that you can kind of sort of see. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys all about it. So my plan, things did not go according to plan though, because I had to work this week. And when I got home, I was just like, I'm tired. Like it's dark. The sun hasn't come up by the time that I go into work. The sun has already gone down by the time I leave work. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm taking my D3 supplements. I just went to Florida and saw the sun last week. But it's still a little bit rough around here. So there were a couple days I did not want to do cast-ons. However, on New Year's Day, I got like 5 of them done. So the plan, as I said it in the last episode, was a little bit of like an asterisk as far as days, but we are caught up appropriately. So that said, one of the ones I've been looking forward to most, one of the ones I've been planning since before I even heard about the Yarns and Yarns knit along, was I wanted to cast on the Whatever sweater by Julie Knits in Paris. And I decided I was going to do that on New Year's Eve. I decided that was going to be my wild and crazy New Year's Eve plans. I see New Year's Eve as like an actual like sacred and spiritual time of like renewal and rebirth and like setting goals and intentions. Like to me, that is like spell work. I like to spend it on my own. My ritual is that I buy myself a fresh lemon and I cut it into slices and I spend the evening putting a slice of lemon into like whatever I'm drinking, which is usually just tea, but I had some leftover soda from Yule and that felt appropriate, so I was having like a Coca-Cola with lemon in it. And yeah, I just spent that time kind of in reflection of things that I've done in the past year, things I didn't get to in the last year, what I want to see going forward into the new year, and then either finishing a major project or starting a major project. So like at the beginning of 2025. So on December 31st, 2024, I spent the entire day casting off the blanket that you see in the background of almost all of my videos. And I'm now kicking myself that it's right here, but it's like just out of frame. This blanket, it took 12 hours to do the Pico cast off. And that was what I did on New Year's Eve last year. And so this New Year's Eve, I decided that I was going to cast something on instead. So here's what I did. This was 6 hours of work after the 6 hours of work that I did finishing those socks that I did not want to bring into the new year. And I'm obsessed with it. I'm so happy with this pattern. It's It's so chill. I've never made a sweater before. And I've been knitting for almost 20 years. I learned how to knit when I was like, my mom taught me when I was in elementary school. I didn't really pick it up until I was like in 6th or 7th grade. But I've basically been knitting since I was 11 or 12. And I turn 32 next month. So yeah, and I've never made a sweater. I did have an attempt at one. I took it apart. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I love it so much. I love it so much. I love my little stitch stoppers that are chickies. Little chickens. I got these from Hypnotic Yarns. And the yarns I'm using are my leftovers of my 2024 Advent. So I've gotten through 3 of the colors so far. I also have some gray. This was the contrast color that I used in my Advent socks. And so I'm using these kind of as the collar. I might also use them just to differentiate, because this is not going to be enough yarn for the sweater. This is going to be enough yarn for like the yoke, maybe. And then I'll use some gray. And then I need to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of the sweater. I haven't picked colors past that. I might do a bunch of neutrals. Or I might pick a whole bunch of minis and just go from there. I have quite a few fully intact mini skein sets. Especially if you've watched for a while. If you watched for a while, one of my friends had bought a ton of sock yarn, decided that she was not going to use it. She was not going to get into knitting socks, and mailed me basically an entire plastic tub's worth of really nice indie dyed yarn. And maybe half of it is just mini skeins. So I have enough mini skeins to knit like a sweater. Like a full sweater. But that's not a right now problem. That's a later problem. Anyway, I'm going to hold this up again because I love looking at it. I'm just so excited about it, you guys. You hold fingering weight double, so it eats the crap out of scraps. And again, I love the pattern so much. The pattern is so chill. I don't want to give too much away because it is a paid for pattern. But I also think it's important to like explain how chill this pattern is. Like the cast on number is a suggestion. The pattern openly is like, just cast on however many stitches you think you need for a collar. Like if you want this kind of collar, cast on around this many stitches. If you want this collar, this is how you adjust it. Like it's very simple. It gives you a formula for how to divide for the sleeves. And it's so simple. It's just so simple. And I don't want to say that I've like intimidated by knitting a sweater. However, I do all of my knitting inverted, where I do everything inside out. My go-to stitch is the purl stitch, not the stockinette stitch. And so knitting sweaters specifically, it's just like one extra step that is too many. And I'm like, what I need to be able to knit a sweater is like for things to be very simple, because I'm already doing everything reversed and now they're sleeves. And I'm so excited about this pattern. I'm already casting on a second one in my head. Like I already have the second one planned. I'm going to call it the Marled Mayhem, and I'm going to do 2 magic knot balls, and it's going to be the most hideous thing I've ever made, and I'm going to wear it all the time. And it's going to be just absolute like this yarn vomit of a garment. Everyone and their mother is going to know that I made that myself, because there's no way you would ever see it in a store. I'm very excited for that one. It's not this one. This one's going to be nice. The other one, y'all wait. Y'all wait until I get some stuff off my needles and I can knit a second whatever sweater. So that brings us to New Year's Day, where I basically just had a whole cast on party. One of the things I've really enjoyed doing that I started doing in 2025 was I'll know that I have to do a lot of like housework and things. And so I'll decide to split up housework and knitting. And so what I did on New Year's Day was, before I even got out of bed, this is the kind of person I am. Before I even got out of bed, I like wrote out, like, these are the projects that I still need to start. These are the things around the house I need to do today. And then I put everything in order. because I knew that like there needed to be a certain order. For example, I wanted to vacuum. To be able to vacuum, I needed to get all of the little like random advent stuff off of my floor, right? So like that needed to come first. The vacuuming needed to come second. But I also wanted to cast on a whole bunch of things. So I put those in order of like what I was like most excited for and what I wouldn't be mad about if I had to put it off until the next day. And I got through everything. I got through literally everything on my list. There was nothing left behind, which was super, super nice. In fact, I did like something I hadn't been planning to do. Ended up getting done. So let's go through the day together because I casted on 3 things and then I unraveled one that I talked about last episode, but we're going to talk about it again. So the first thing I did was I got my Michael's Trick or Treat tote bag out, which this already has a purpose. This is my blanket donation bag. So I've decided, I made this goal months ago, that in 2026 I want to knit 12 blankets for donation. Because the more I think about the world and just like the state of the world, we need more kindness and generosity. And that starts with the self. So something like I just spent some time in reflection and thought about it and was like, I do so much knitting. I can spend half an hour a day knitting for someone else, like knitting for a stranger. That's fine. So sometimes I knit tiny pigs and I give them out to people that I only know like a little bit. Sometimes I give them out to friends. But other times I'm like, we're just gonna knit a blanket. So here's my little blanket. I have a little turtle stitch marker on there because we're going slow and easy. This is Knit Picks Brava Speckle. I think it's peaches and cream. Just peachy speckle, just kidding. But yes, Brava. And I'm just doing half an hour a day, so I have this. This is what I cast on the first day. This is the second day. I originally was planning to do a star-shaped blanket. I had a pattern saved in my favorites. I bought that pattern, I looked at it, and again, I reverse all of my patterns. I can do a lot of the reverses for increases and decreases. One of the ones that I don't actually know how to reverse is the make one right, make one left. Because it's just like, I'm confused. Even if I'm like knitting and it says make one right, make one left, I have to look up which direction is correct. And like, but then I still don't know whether they're a left leaning increase or right leaning increase. And I know that I'm going to get even more confused when I reverse it. And it's like, this is the pattern that I bought. It is important that you do that. You cannot switch it out for like a knit forward back. Like you can't switch it out for just like yarn over. Like it's not going to work. It's relying on the directionals of those increases for your star to look correct. And I was like, I'm just not going to do this. Like this is my easy knitting. This is my like detox from work and from the outside world knitting. So I was like, no, we're going tried and true. We're going 2 increases every other row until you've used half of your yarn and then start decreasing. Either half of the yarn, or I need to go to a hardware store and just buy a yardstick, because what you need for like donating a baby blanket is 36 by 36. So anyway, this will be probably the first of my cast-ons to actually get done, because this, as long as I am on target, this should be done end of January. So yes, you will see this quite a bit. But yeah, this has yesterday's knitting. Sorry. It says yesterday's knitting. It has today's knitting. It does not. This has New Year's Day knitting. January 2nd knitting. I have not done my 30 minutes yet for today because I woke up, ate breakfast, and decided it was time to start filming because I'm having kind of a late start to my day. But anyway, that is my very simple blanket. We are still working on that. I really love this mug. Okay. The next thing I started was in No. In this bag, which my friend Mish gave to me, thank you, Mish, it has little chickens on it. I don't know how well you can see them. I feel like they're not showing up apart from like their, is that called the crop? I think it's called the crop. I could be making that up. Just their little heads, but it says chickies. And in this bag, we have a familiar yarn and a bunch of needles that don't have anything on them. We have the very start of a yarn cozy. Just the increases and one row of the ribbing so far. And you might be saying to yourself, why are you casting on a yarn cozy for 12 days of cast ons? And it's because I'm taking a leaf from Ange herself, and I am not, my goal is not to knit one yarn cozy. My goal is to knit this many cozies. And also, hold on, and also this many cozies. So that's where that yarn actually goes. It's not, I'm not being messy. Yeah. So we're starting the first one. I want to knit a ton of cozies. My goal, or my wish for the end of 2025 was that I was going to knit tiny objects, whether they're like socks or pigs or something, for my yarn friends. And then I was also going to have enough yarn cozies to just put their knitted items inside a yarn cozy and then like give it to them. Like that was basically going to be like the wrapping was like it's stuck inside a hand knitted yarn cozy. And then they would both have a yarn cozy for their yarn and whatever's inside of it. I did not do that. I didn't get to it. I didn't have enough. If I really wanted to do that, I should have started much earlier in the year. I didn't even start my holiday knitting until October. And then the people I was planning to knit for, I think there were at least 3 people who got like IOUs as part of like their Christmas present of like, sorry, I didn't get to your yarn. So this year I want to make enough yarn cozies that, first of all, I never run out of yarn cozies. I want to have so many yarn cozies that I can finish a pair of socks and leave the yarn in a yarn cozy and put it like into wherever I would put my scraps in my stash, and they can just still live in the yarn cozy until they're done. That's my goal. And to have enough extra to still give out to other people as like little gifts. So yeah, that's my plan with that. Hopefully I get there. That might be really ambitious. We will see. I have a feeling I will knit a lot of yarn cozies like in the summer, probably. It's probably not going to be like an immediate priority, but it is going to be something that I really want to do. But yeah, that's my yarn cozies. The next one is in my Star Wars not bag. No, it's not. I know what bag things are in. This is going to be the very last one you see. So if I pick it up again, just know that I don't know what I'm talking about. I do really want to talk about that project. I think that's why I keep reaching for it. But this is the one I want to talk about. This is a new bag also. This is my Snoopy Christmas bag. I chose it only because the book I'm knitting out of is in here. This is the Gnomes of Grimblewood book. And I've been wanting to knit gnomes for quite a while because they are a much fancier version, but also a very whimsical thing that you can make compared to the tiny pigs that I knit in a lot of my episodes. I don't have any tiny pigs near me. Do I? No. If you're new to watching my channel, I knit probably 50 tiny pigs last year that are about, it is big. They are the size of $3 store cotton balls to normal drugstore cotton balls. They itty bitty. They take about 3 grams of fingering weight yarn. And they bring so much joy into the world. And sometimes I just stuff my pockets with tiny pigs and just go on little adventures and just hand out tiny pigs. It's a great time. 10 out of 10 recommend. But in that vein, I wanted to do other silly things. And so I started casting on a gnome. Oh no. Oh yes. Sorry, I couldn't find things in the bag. I started casting on a gnome. So I have the Hayat. Look at it, so little. It's so itty bitty. Oh my god, this is on an actual size 1 needle. This is the first one in the book because I didn't want to have decision paralysis. I had so much fun knitting this that I have already decided that when my gnome is done, I am immediately going to cast on the next one in the book, and I'm just going to knit my way through it. And then I'm probably going to start back at the beginning and just knit them through again because the gnomes are so much fun. They are so good. And I also signed up for a newsletter from the designer. This is Sarah Shira. Her online stuff is Imagined Landscapes. I know that she has some really cool knit-alongs. She did one at like Halloween that was like a pumpkin gnome. I want to knit that. She also did fungi gnomes. I need to knit the fungi gnomes. But I want to go through the book because like I need to focus. I need to lock it in. So I'm going to go through the book. I have decided if she has another knit along, like mystery knit along, I will join. As long as I see it, I will join. I will make it happen. We will figure it out because I'm just really having so much fun with this. Yeah, so that is, oh yeah, and the colors I'm using, this was the hat. This is going to be the body. And then I'm using this for the skin and the beard. And this is actually unraveled from a tardigrade I was knitting for my boss. And so it's like all crinkly and curly, and I think that's going to add really, really good texture to the beard. The other really cool thing about this pattern, and the reason I actually started this gnome, is because every year I save all of my yarn ends in a jar. So these are my, I have to do math. These are all of my yarn ends from 2024. All of them are in here. And I keep all of them. So it's everything I knit for other people, everything I knit for myself, everything that is like any of the like anything that binds a skein of yarn to stop it from getting tangled, it goes in here. If I unravel something, it's only like a little tiny bit, goes in here. Anything that's basically too much of a scrap to be used in something scrappy in here. And then at the end of the year, I put a sigil on there. It's going to be backwards. It's going to be backwards anyway, but these are some runes that I put on there as a blessing. And then I leave it on my altar. And it stays on there for a year. And then I do something with the yarn tails. So what I did last year with 2023's yarn tails was I ceremonially burned them, which was an option you can make in life. And I decided I was not going to do that again. So these are going to go into a gnome. And I think that I'm going to continue that tradition. But it's going to be interesting figuring out what pattern to use because these were my 2025 yarn ends. And yeah, this is showing up backwards, but this is Bunjo, which just basically means joy and happiness. So yeah, these are all my scraps from 2025. One of the important things that I do, in fact, the first thing on my list to do on New Year's Day, New Year's Day, was that I had to go through every single project bag I own because most of my project bags, I know my sock bags have them. Not all of my new bags have them. I'm not used to having this many bags at once. But all of my bags have, I stole this from work, so it has like parts on it. I needed a bag and I had bags. All of them, I keep a little bag, and then as I cut yarn tails, I put them all into that bag. And then I usually quarterly, I empty them out, or as I stopped using a project bag and it goes back into my bucket O bags, I empty them out. But I also, at the end of the year, every project bag we go through, if there's yarn, it goes into the jar, and then the jar goes and lives back on my altar. It sits there for a year. And then when that year is over, it gets, it's going to be made into a gnome. So yeah, thank you for bearing with me through all of that. I know it's like, you did not sign up for like random fiber magic stuff today, but here we are. Here's the fiber magic of keeping yarn ends as the ends of a project and then casting spells on them. So yeah. Anyway, that's my gnome and I'm really excited about it. And then the last thing I did on New Year's Day, which I wasn't sure if I was going to do or not, I had a sweater. I had a partially knit sweater that had been abandoned since 2021. And one of the things I wanted to do for 12 Days of Cast Ons, along with casting on a whole bunch of things, was I also wanted to take some time and manage my long abandoned whips and just kind of frog the things that need to be frogged, finish the things that need to be finished. And I decided to frog this. And I said in the last episode, I'm going to frog this today. And then I pulled it out and I was like, maybe I don't want to frog it. So I washed it and I blocked it. And it was sitting on my floor and I was like, I could probably finish this and give it to one of my friends. And then I tried it on again, just like make sure that it wouldn't fit me. It does not fit me. And it was like, it was just tight. But the other thing was, it was itchy. And I was also thinking about it, and I was thinking about like friends who would like properly fit the dimensions of it. And I was like, the other problem is that it's too cropped. I just thought about it and I knew that I couldn't think of a single friend who would be flattered, like their figure would be flattered wearing this sweater. And so I unraveled it. And I'm going to reuse the yarn in something, I'm not sure. I'll put a picture of what it looked like blocked right here. Adore it, admire it, my first ever sweater attempt. What we have now is just a bunch of balls of these two colors. I think I'm just going to knit a shawl out of it later. And just have something to kind of like bundle up with when I'm sitting in my reading chair. Because that's obviously what I need, considering I already have a hand knit blanket over there and I'm already knitting the my North Down wrap to go with that. But I don't know, maybe I need another one. Or maybe I'll knit it into like a shawl and then give it to somebody else. I don't know. But it's in this bag for right now. And I'm just letting this kind of cook. I'm just going to let it simmer on the back burner and think about different patterns, think about what I want to do. And I will figure that out later, not right now. I don't need to figure that out right now. Sorry about that. Someone started calling me as I was filming. So I hope that didn't mess with the recording. It put up a sign about recording, but I don't know. Anyway, that is all of my January 1st shenanigans. Hopefully that was quite a few shenanigans. And then now, moving on to yesterday, January 2nd, I did have to go to work yesterday. And then I got home. Yesterday ended up being a stressful day because there was just some family members being family members, we'll put it that way. But there was one more cast on that I wanted to do. One that I was really excited for. This one is kicking me the hell out of my comfort zone, which is really funny because it's a sock pattern. And I asked for it. This pattern was a gift. My friends have a knitting group together. My knitting friends have a group together. Let me put it that way, because I have multiple friend groups. And for the second year in a row, when it has come up to Christmas, we have decided to do a Secret Santa pattern exchange where we go onto Elfster, and for our wish list, we just put the link to our Ravelry wish list page, and then everyone draws names, and on Christmas morning, as people wake up, they go into the Ravelry wish list of the person that they have, and they buy a pattern. And so the pattern I got was Chattahoochee by Shu Yi Wu. And I picked it because it's like on the bias and it looked really, really cool. And the person bought it for me because it was going to be self-striping yarn. She knows how much I love knitting self-striping yarn. So this pattern is interesting. I also want to say, the yarn that I'm using for this, before I even hold it up, hopefully you haven't already seen it. It's the Freckled Whimsy January colorway, Polar Bear Shenanigans. So if you do not want to see that yarn, maybe skip this part. But yeah, anyway, this pattern is absolutely fascinating. Here is what I have so far. This is going to be a sock. I have no idea how. I don't know what in the geometry is happening. This is wild. Like, these are wedges. I didn't know that you could knit wedges like that. I've learned 2 new increase methods. I thought I knew them all. I don't know why I thought that. Because I knit the same thing over and over again. I don't know why I thought I knew technical stuff. I don't. I'm a quantity, not a quality knitter. Like, no shade to myself. Like, there's different types of knitters in the world. I like knitting the same thing 39 times in a row. But yeah. So this is going to be a sock when it grows up. And I'm having the time of my life. This is just so much fun. I've only done 1 pattern repeat. I don't know when I will work on this again because I really need to focus and lock it in on my rad vent and my main socks just to keep the sock train moving, because I have too much sock yarn. It's a little bit overwhelming and I need to use some of it. But yeah, what? Like, these stitches are all just like I haven't even worked them. Haven't even worked these stitches yet. I don't know what's happening. I'm so excited. The only downside of this pattern so far is that it only fits one size, and there's no way to adjust for like the foot length or the width. So I have already immediately accepted that these socks are probably not going to fit me, because just going based on what she says, I think they're going to be about 10 stitches too long in the foot for me to wear, which is a little bit of a bummer. The other thing is, the pattern was like, you really need to use a size 1 needle. Like, here's the gauge you need to listen to. I usually knit my socks on a size 1.5 and then go down an actual like pattern size. So I would say like standard sock stitches are 64. I knit 56 because instead of using a size 1 needle, I use a 1.5, which I did on accident because Addie, the brand Addie from Germany, gets confused with US sizes, and they sell both 2.25 millimeter and 2.5 millimeter as size 1. They are not both size 1. So, but I have enough pairs of Addies that I've just accepted that I knit my socks at a bigger gauge than everybody else. So anyway, yeah, these are my Chattahoochee socks. I can't believe I just had such a problem saying that, because I've had this song stuck in my head like literally for weeks. I've had this stuck in my head since Christmas Day. I almost said New Year's Day. I've had it stuck in my head since Christmas Day, when I realized that was the pattern someone bought for me and was like, okay, we're locked in. So yeah. We're going to take a little hydration break. How's it going? How's life? Okay, so that is all of my actual knitting. I do have couple more yarny things to talk about. The first one is this bucket. Looks like all my other mint buckets, but this one is special because it's holding the yarns I want to work with in January. Do you sense a theme? The theme is that I like the color green. So these are not in any particular order. Okay, this yarn is still in there from December because I want to use this to make socks for someone who has a February birthday. And so I'm just leaving it in there. This is from Universal Yarn. It is Easel. And the color is Quiet Time. And yeah, I don't know if I've worked with Easel yarn before. I got it pretty inexpensively from Premier Yarns when I was buying a ton of, I don't remember what the fiber is, but it's non-wool yarn that I can use for my friends who are allergic to wool. This is the contrast color I want to use with this. I'm not sold on it. I might change it, but that's what I have set aside for the moment. The other two colors I want to work with this month. This is Grinch Green, and I didn't realize it until I wound it up. But this is from Knit Picks. Of course, most of my yarn is from Knit Picks right now. And this is Melissa's sock yarn in the color Zesty Lime. And I do have one of my scrappy cozies on it. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited for this. I know what pattern I want to use. I don't know the name of it, but one of my Christmas presents this year was a copy of The Sock Project by Summer Lee. And on the cover, there's a sock that has these cables running all the way down it. And I'm going to use this and make a solid color sock, no contrast color, which I'm really excited about. The other one I want to use, one of the things that I want to do this year is make a really big dent in my self-striping yarn. So I also picked up a Felici. This is the color Olive Juice. It is an older one. I think it's a 2022, but I definitely wasn't writing notes on my yarn tags at that point in time. So I don't know. I just know that it's older and it's like aggressively discontinued. One of the things that I'm looking at as I'm holding this yarn is that if I knit this one first, I can use it as a contrast color for this sock. So I might do that. I'm thinking about that. This will probably end up as a contrast color option after I knit the main socks of it. That was my plan when I bought that color. Because I knew. I was like, ooh, this is such a vibrant color. And I really do love a high vibrancy contrast color for socks. So yeah, those are the yarns I plan to use in January. If I don't get through all of them, I will continue them into February. That's fine. And that brings us into two different things we're going to kind of talk about at the same time. I'm actually going to scoot a little bit this way because I'm going to put something on the screen. This is my 2026 bingo card. This is my third year making bingo cards instead of New Year's resolutions. And so it's not new to me. I've been around the block. I've been around the block twice. When I did it the first time in 2024, I had a blast. I did so many things on there. I hit I think 22 out of 25 squares, something like that. And it really changed my life, the way that I did that bingo card. The goals that I set in 2024 just really made me a better person. I don't know where that bingo card even is. So I can't even tell you what was on there, but I know that I had goals that pushed me out of my comfort zone. One of my goals was to go somewhere new once a month, and that was literally made me such a better person because I am a major creature of habit, and so that was really good. Last year I was on such a high at the new year. I was really fit, and everything was turning up, roses for me. I was doing great, and I set a bingo card up as how I thought the year was going to go. And the year did not go as I planned. I have been very sick for months. I am still kind of nasty. If you see a lot of cuts in this video, it's because I've been having hacking coughing fits again. I'm still not great. And so I hit 6. I hit 6 of my bingo card squares for 2025. But also as I went through them, I was these aren't fun things. These are goals. And I felt kind of defeated by that. And so I wasn't planning on making a bingo card again this year. I was I think I'm just going to accept that I'm burned out and move on. However, I was scrolling through the social media world. I was scrolling through the Tumblr, And I saw a post where someone was talking about how they always make fun New Year's resolutions only. So they did one that was called the Pasta Quest. And where it was like, they just try as many different types of pasta as they can. Or they do the fruit exploration, where every time they see a fruit that they've never had before, they buy one and try it out and read the Wikipedia page. And that reminded me that I'm a whimsical person. That's why it's the title of my YouTube channel, Whips and Whimsy, because I like whimsical stuff. That's why I knit tiny pigs and gnomes and things. So I decided I was going to make my bingo card this year be fun things only. And the 9 inner squares were going to be new to me things that I want to add into my life. And the outer ring of squares was going to be related to things I already do that I want to continue on in specific ways. For example, knitting. You might tell most of the outer ring is knitting. The 4 corners are the 4 major projects, almost said prosthetics, the 4 major projects of my 12 cast ons. So if I want to hit a diagonal bingo, I have to complete at least 2 of those, right? But I also have fun stuff on there. I have like just throw a party and everyone cooks something and shares the recipe. Like that's on there. So I'm very excited for my bingo card. I've already started working on some of the projects. For example, one of my squares is to learn the skill of lactofermentation. That is a pickling method. There are 2 main ways you can make pickles if you don't already know. You can either do a vinegar-based brine, which is something that you can, or you can do a salt-based brine, which then ferments the food. It's very good for your gut. You don't usually can lacto-fermented pickles. You just put them in the fridge and they last for a couple of months. I was very excited to pickle things, and so I started a ferment last week in a quart-size deli bin. I used the salt that I had on hand, which was, you have to use salt that only has salt in it, so I did, but it was a smoked salt, which means that now when I look at my pickles, I think that they are fermented, but when I taste them, I'm like, I don't know if this actually tastes like a pickle, because it also tastes smoky, but it should taste smoky. I use smoked salt. So I don't know whether or not they're safe to eat. Before anyone freaks out, you will not get botulism. You will get maybe like food poisoning, but botulism comes from canning, and these are not canned. So we are not concerned with botulism right now. Of course, check your resources and do more research if you are making pickles. Don't follow me, because I'm too chill for my own good. So anyway, I'm sure you decided to watch a knitting YouTube episode to hear about pickles. So anyway, I showed this just to kind of go through the things that I am planning to do this year. So knitting more hats, knitting other things. I went through, not all of my stats, but I went through one specific stat for 2025, and that was that I knit 39 pairs of socks last year, which is pretty good. But after I looked at that, I was like, there's a lot of things I didn't make last year. Like, I don't think I knit a single hat. I don't think I knit a single shawl. Is that true? I think that's true. I didn't knit a single shawl. I did 2 baby blankets towards the end of the year. But other than that, I just basically just stayed in my lane and just only knit socks. And I like doing that, but I would like to have more variety in my year. So I tried to set up my bingo cards so that I'm kind of pushing myself into some variety and having different things on my needles than just I finished a sock, I finished another sock, I finished a third sock. Not that it's not fun, but I don't know. I want to have some variety in my cage, as they say. Anyway, I'm moving back over. That is my bingo card. And there's one last thing that you might have spotted on the bingo card, but we are also going to talk about it separately. I've decided I want to pick up spinning again. Yarn. Not spinning at the gym. I'm not. No. So for those of you who don't know, this is some deep lore. Back in the day when I still lived in Florida, I used to be involved with one of the Renaissance fairs there. I was a Viking reenactor, and I worked on hearth crafts while I was there. So I would teach people, the public, about like, ancient textiles, ancient, I don't want to say crafts and hobbies because they weren't hobbies. They were like a survival. It was something that you absolutely had to have to live in the Viking age. But basically I learned how to spin. I learned how to do weaving. In fact, you can see, not that one. That one I didn't make. You can see very kind of. You can see very kind of that I used to do a lot of like tablet weaving. I don't have my loom anymore. I think you might be able to see the design on this one. No? Yes? I'm sorry. I should have like thought about this better and had one pulled out so I could like hold it up close. But they're like knotted at the top, so I can't. Anyway, I used to do tablet weaving. I used to do spinning. I used to do natural dyeing. And I kind of stepped away from those things when I moved here because I'm not involved with a Ren Fair group up here. I'm just kind of in a different space in my life than that. However, I kind of want to get back into spinning. And I kind of want to do it in a less historically accurate way and in a more like, this is my hobby now kind of way. So I put in an order for some fiber that's already dyed. And because I'm not going through natural dyeing again. That's such a process. I don't have any of my dye equipment anymore. I've given it all away. But I'm going to, I ordered three 4-ounce tops. 2 of them are Blueface Leicester. 1 of them is merino mixed with silk, which I have never spun before. And my plan is to spin at least one of them on my drop spindle, which is somewhere behind me, but I'm not going to grab it right now. It's just it's very basic, like an Ashland, starter drop spindle. It's nothing special. It came with a kit that was like, learn to spin. Like, very simple. And after, as long as I stick with it and finish spinning one of them, then I'm going to be clear to buy myself an e-spinner. I used to have a spinning wheel. I never used it. I went up to my friend's house and we stained it together. And then it came time to put it together. I also finished the wood. It came time to put it together. And I was like, I would literally rather give this away than have to assemble it myself. So I bartered it to a different friend of mine, who bought it with her roommate, and then she and her roommate no longer live together, so now her roommate has it. Her roommate ended up dating someone that was a coworker of mine. We're on such a tangent. Ended up dating a coworker of mine. And so one day I went into work and he was like, your spinning wheel lives at my house now. And I was like, incredible. Why? And then they have since broke up. I don't know where that spinning wheel is anymore. I hope that it's getting great use wherever it is. But spinning wheels also, like, traditional spinning wheels take up a lot of space. I don't want something that takes up a lot of space. I don't, want to fully commit to having the permanent, like, spinning wheel sitting out all the time. But I will commit to having a little e-spinner that I can just put into a little box and put away. And yeah, so I think I'm going to do that, but I do want to make sure that I for realsies want to get back into spinning before I do that. So I bought a reasonable amount of fiber and I'm going to start on that and see where we end up. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think one of the other squares on my bingo card that you may have seen, I'm hoping you could read that when it was on the screen, because I know it's like a small little screenshot, and then depending on, like, if you're watching this on your phone, you may not be able to read it, but if you're watching it, like, if you've cast it onto your TV, you can probably read the squares. Anyway, one of the other squares on my bingo card is that I'm starting school at the end of January. I'm studying accounting. And so I think originally I was thinking I could buy myself an e-spinner as a birthday present, and then I remembered that my trip to Disney is already my birthday present. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to wait either till midterms or finals, and I'm going to buy myself an e-spinner, like, when I pass that, to be like, congratulations, you survived. So I'm pretty excited about that one. Yeah, hopefully I like it. More coffee. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to get into spinning. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet with my homespun. I actually have never knit up anything that I've homespun. In fact, I gave all of my hand-spun stuff to one of my friends because I was like, I'm never going to use this, but you might. And then she has knit my hand-spun. She made it into a blanket with some other like incredibly rustic hand-spun yarn. But I've never used it, so I don't know. If anyone has ideas of good patterns to use for like when your handspun is still in that like really lumpy stage, because I'm sure that I've had some like skill regression over the last couple of years because I don't think I've used my drop spindle since 2021. Like winter 2021 is probably the last time I used it. That was 5 years ago. So if anyone has ideas for that, please let me know. And that wraps up, finally. It's only been an hour. Oh my god. That wraps up all of that. All of the knitting stuff, all of the fiber stuff, all of the goals. So if that is all you're interested in, thank you so much for being here. In fact, for anyone who's still left, thank you for being here. This is a record long episode. And we're still going. We have one more thing. I got some books from Florida. I bought all of these myself, and then I immediately forgot what I bought, except for one thing. So, let's go through it together. The first thing I bought, I started a cozy... My favorite genre of books to read are cozy mysteries, which are basically like murder mysteries being solved by an amateur sleuth who is also a small business owner, usually in a small town. They're so silly, so ridiculous. I love them so much. So I started one series last year, and it is a seaside cafe mystery. I read the first 3 books. These are by Brie Baker. And the bookstore I went to, which I used to work at, had the whole rest of the series available used. So I got all 4 of them. So at some point this year, as treats to myself, I can read more of them. I also got Mold to Death by Kate Lansing. I've read the first book in this series. I don't know whether this is like book 2, book 3. I don't know. I'm just going to read them in any order because you can do that with cozy mysteries the same way that you could read like Agatha Christie books out of order. Like you're going to be fine. I also got Into Thin Air by John Krakauer because I saw a YouTube video that was going over the events that happened in this book. And first of all, I was horrified. I was like, this feels like a horror novel where the antagonist is a mountain. But it also made me want to go down a rabbit hole. So I was like, I'm going to buy the book and read about it again and get all horrified again. I picked up Alien Earths, The Search for Life in the Cosmos, because I really like reading about space. I think that's like a really interesting thing to read about. If you've never read about space before, it's trippy and weird and surreal, but also it's like factual as compared to just being like weird to be weird, which I also love. Like surrealist fiction is one of my other favorite genres to read because I read a little bit of everything if you haven't noticed. But yeah, I'm really excited for Alien Earths. I'm also really excited that I have a history book about the Plantagenets. One of my major rabbit holes that I went down last year was medieval royalty, specifically how inbred medieval royalty was. It's insane. It goes real crazy. It's like a train wreck I can't keep away from. In fact, one of my bingo squares is to actually read a book that one of my friends bought me for Yule that is about the Habsburg empresses. So it's 1,000 pages. She was like, I know you. And I was like, yes, you do. But yeah, this is the Plantagenets, which is, of course, one of the British lines. I think it's the one, I want to say it's the one that died out with Queen Elizabeth I. But she was a Tudor, so I could be making that up completely. I'll find out whenever I read the book. And then I'll be able to report back and tell you all about the British monarchy. I'll be an expert. I read things and then I know them. Anyway, the last thing I got was a used nonfiction book, The Sound of the Sea, Seashells and the Fate of the Oceans. Kind of excited for this one. I'm worried that it's going to be like really environmentally dense in the like our planet is being destroyed way. But I'm hoping it's more in like a braiding sweetgrass. Nature is really cool and we need to save it, but you can also feel good about your life kind of way. Is that bad? I don't know, man. Anyway, I have now been yapping for, according to this, an hour and 8 minutes. It will probably not be an hour and 8 minutes for you because I have quite a lot of things to edit and I have repeated some sections just to make sure that there are less, I don't know the word I'm looking for, less bloopers, I guess. So, yeah. Anyway, I have like one swallow of tea left, coffee, one swallow of like coffee left. So hydrate once again with me. And have a lovely week. Thank you so much for being here, especially if you're here till the end. You are the real MVP. I hope you have some whimsy in your life this week. I hope wonderful things happen for you. And I will see you next time. Okay, bye.